Are we starting? Are we starting?
Hello.
We're starting. Okay.
Okay.
We've changed the format, and it's kind of raised some eyebrows in the community and also on the television scene.
That's right.
You and me and Korn.
They've followed suit. They've changed their format.
They've changed a little bit, I guess, of the show. You want to lead into that?
Let's watch the clip over there at that TV.
I actually could go for some corn right now. Who's in? Frank, can you make poutine with corn? On it. No. So the book we were going to start with is entitled The Suicide Squad.
And this is a common theme that's been used in a lot of different storytelling and movies and stuff like that, where they take, you know, a group of villains or, you know, bad guys or whatever it is, and they get them to do these impossible missions. If you survive said mission, you get your freedom.
Okay.
Right? So that's the idea of this whole thing. And you get this incredible collection of C grade, D grade, B grade, you know, villains and characters that, what do you got? Captain Boomerang.
Martian Manhunter.
Hey.
I'm just naming B grade guys.
Deadshot, Colonel Flag.
Who did the art on these books?
Luke McDonald.
Luke McDonald did the art and did this, and you could tell he was a big fan of all the Rambo movies and Rocky films at the time and stuff like that.
Because they all had bandanas.
They all had like the headbands and stuff. Yeah, a lot of that sort of stuff. And this bled into what we talked about in a previous episode about the JSA episode from Smallville. That made its way into there. It was also in the JLU cartoon series. And it's just a strange little side book. And in this, they go to Russia. And it's classic Iron Curtain stuff just before it all fell down, and the language and everything is very 80s. Wonderful book as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that storyline was actually really good, I thought, because they got themselves into Russia, and then things didn't go the way they thought they would.
They were going to free a female writer who had written something about freedom and how democracy was great and stuff like that. So it was even propaganda. Like if you want to talk about Captain America and Nazi propaganda, this was being done still in the 80s. Comic books was being used to change my opinion as a kid about these Russians. They're mean.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and the cool thing is they get to Russia to rescue this political dissident, and then she basically says, "Well, I don't want to be rescued." So then
here
they're
to
like,
change my people.
Crap! Now we're in Russia, and she doesn't want to come with us. What are we gonna do? So it was one of those comics that I avoided when it was out because I didn't like the art, to be honest. I still don't really like the art that much.
It's pretty pathetic.
Yeah, it's kind of got that
pathetic,
generic
but
DC look, but
at the time, that's what they made.
It's pretty standard, but the writing is surprisingly good, and the thing that makes it is, like you said, these characters. You've got, you know, Captain Boomerang, Colonel Flag.
Well, they had Mirror Master, Captain Cold, all these
completely. They're all pricks, and so it's almost like
But it gave us dimension.
No, but it's almost like Reservoir Dogs, where everybody is a complete jerk.
Yeah, but it gave them dimension. Like here were a bunch of Reservoir Dogs. Here were a bunch of bad A's doing their thing, and they all wanted to gain advantage over each other. And it was great writing, and it was great stories. And of course, Suicide Squad, somebody died, and if not every issue, in every story arc, and that was something that
they brought them back the next issue.
But they were cruddy characters, so they never had to bring them back.
No,
they just got killed.
It was dated. Like they use words like rad. Like gag me with a spoon. Captain Boomerang was wearing leg warmers. Like that, that whole thing.
Leg warmers.
It just dated it for me.
It was the one scene where Captain Boomerang went to the warehouse and did the dance off.
Yeah.
Remember the angry dance?
Yeah. It was, and so I mean.
Only people that watch Footloose would get that.
Again in the 80s. Okay, so.
I highly recommend it. It's a fan favorite for me. It's amazing. It's got so many great things to do with DC history, but it has Amanda Waller in it. And Amanda Waller is one of the greatest characters that DC's ever come up with. She's overweight, she's small, she is just...
No superpowers.
No superpowers whatsoever, but she is...
She wears ankle
she's
socks.
an imposing character. She does wear ankle socks and power suits, purple power suits, because that's the only color they had.
Yeah.
What do we got? Purple. What else?
Michael.
I already said my piece.
Did you?
I highly recommend it. Everyone go and buy this book. Suicide Squad was just introduced in Smallville, and Amanda Waller is played by Pam Grier.
Okay, I'm not going to recommend it, but I will recommend it just on the account that Randy Swift loves the Suicide Squad.
He does.
And he knows his stuff, and I'm recommending it just for Randy. That's it. To break!
All right.
Let's go.
So anyway, this week we've got a question here from someone who wrote into the show. We asked, a few months ago we asked people to write in and give us questions.
Well, it's hard to ask yourself questions.
And one person came through, so we thank you, Listo65. Listo asks us, let me just hold this up.
I'm Listo64.
I'm just making up this question now. A lot of kids now are being introduced to comic book characters primarily through movies. Do you think that this is a good way to establish new long-time readers of comic books? Do you think these films are changing the way comics are written and illustrated? So it's a two-part question.
Yes.
So first, George, do you think that these movies are bringing in new long-time readers?
I would have to imagine. By the way, that's actually a really good question for making it up on the spot.
It is.
I would imagine. I mean, I wouldn't have any hard data on it, but I certainly am now getting into new comics from watching films. You know, when League of Extraordinary Gentlemen came out, I'm sure a lot of people were shocked when they actually went and got the comic and found out that it was really good, as opposed to the film.
Well, you got to wonder if that movie made anyone go and buy the comic. Honestly,
yeah,
I
it could have done. It could have done the opposite.
Yeah,
but it's certainly getting people more interested. Watchmen, for sure, it had that effect.
Yes, absolutely it did. Now, I do know, going back all the way to the 90s, that the numbers say that it barely helps at all.
Oh, okay.
But I think the fact that it's caused people in this room to pick up comics they never would have picked up, just based on the fact that they're in a TV show or in a movie, I think it is working. The fact that the numbers sort of even out means maybe they're losing as many people as they're gaining, but there's definitely new people coming because of the movies. So the second part of this is, do you think this is a good way... Oh, sorry, we already said that. Do you think these films are changing the way comics are written, illustrated?
Written, yes. Illustrated, I don't think so. I think written, it has changed. I think they've started to look at maybe even marketing a bit more. Stuff like even what was that? Kick-Ass.
Yes.
Certainly was something that was made almost as a movie before it was made as a comic.
And that's,
at least my feeling.
And that's an example where it's affecting comics to the point that they're made as a storyboard, I think. Even a lot of the widescreen stuff, that even though I'm a fan of it,
yeah.
Even Frank Quitely stuff, which I'm a huge fan of, it tends to look a little bit too much like a storyboard at the expense of, I don't want to say the storytelling, because the storytelling's fine, but at the expense of the classic way of telling a comic book story, where the panel arrangements are all, you know, different positions, and they're sort of all bent around each other. It's more of this now. It's more 1, 2, 3, 4,
but again,
you know?
that's if it's not solely done that way, I don't think it really hurts it. And along that whole idea and subject of movies affecting comics and comics affecting films and writing, and is this bringing in new readers, we have the Green Hornet.
Green Hornet, Blood Ties, #3. A comic we probably would not have read if there wasn't a movie that was coming out.
That's right. I barely remember him from the reruns of the 60s Batman TV show that I saw. I certainly wasn't that impressed by the character then, but this movie trailer looks great.
Well, we did review #1 of Kevin Smith's series last year.
Yes.
And we gave it a sort of mixed review.
So you would not recommend this comic then? No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, well, it was kind of silly.
Yeah, it was.
It was really silly and all over the place. It didn't have really a timeline even.
I agree. Now this, you know what? It was actually pretty good. A little bit too violent for me.
Okay,
but
there was certainly a full-page decapitation that was
yes,
in there.
Very graphic.
Was there some filleting that went on?
Well, you know, it's certainly a genre comic, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're doing what Marvel and DC are doing, and I think they're doing a fine job. And it's just about basically a gang war that's going on. Green Hornet doesn't show up until the very end, which may be a little bit disappointing, but it's not the Green Arrow. Green Arrow, did I say Green Arrow?
The logo looks like Green Arrow's logo for sure.
It's not the Green Hornet that I expected, but for what it is, I think it's actually pretty well written. Now, the art is actually drawn by a fellow Windsor native named Johnny Desjardins. And when we did speak to Johnny recently, he did say to be as critical as we want it to be.
Okay.
About the art.
Absolutely.
And so, knowing that, I will say that the art was probably better than I thought it would be. I think the cover's pretty good, but I think the interior maybe show a little bit more promise. Now, obviously, Johnny is sort of just breaking into the industry. So I think that, you know, I can give him the same advice I would give anyone, which is keep studying anatomy Sometimes the anatomy is a little bit wonky here and there. The perspective's a little bit off sometimes.
Well, he certainly has gone to the Mark Texteria, Jim Lee school, for sure. So you see a lot of that in there, and a lot of it is nice. His storytelling is coming along. This is the 3rd issue. I've read the other ones. It's looking great as far as that goes. Like the pacing and stuff is coming along nice. But there is still a lot of like the coloring is, I don't know if they're brilliant or they're lazy or they're new or they're...
Or it's just the style.
Well, it's the studio that's doing it. There's something to it. There's a style to it, but there's something in the faces and that I was not a fan of. But his, and the printing process is either going right to pencils or something, so it's a little muddy.
I was wondering, it looked a little bit, like, not scribbly, but a little bit
I think
liquidy.
I think he's just doing straight from pencils, or at least that's what I get a feeling from looking at it. But I mean, his work is evolving greatly. But it certainly is. You can look at it and finding his own identity. You know, I'm sure. Again, I don't know how he feels. Maybe this is the identity he's looking for. Well, but it puts me back in time artistically.
Back in time, meaning?
Meaning the 90s.
I see. See, now, what I would tell, I'm going to tell Johnny what I tell any artist trying to break in. Study the John Buscema, How to Draw Comics the Marvel way. It's as simple as that. I mean,
is pretty awesome.
That's the basics. Start from there and just, run with it. That's what I would do.
Okay.
So anyway, overall, if you know the genre you're getting into, this is a good comic. I recommend it.
Yeah, and it makes me want to see the movie, and the movie makes me want to read the book, so.
But never mind that. We spoke to Johnny Desjardins himself, and he gave us some advice on how to break into the comic book industry. To other people who are trying to break into the industry, do you have any advice for them as far as becoming a comic book artist or anything like that?
Just keep drawing over and over and over. I mean, it's really labor intensive. And there's so many different areas to do, like there's figure drawing, and then there's environments, and there's everything has to look a certain way. So perspective and buildings, backgrounds. So you got to cover pretty much everything because you have to draw a wide variety of things and everything and anything.
So would you say being a comic book artist is one of the more difficult professions to get into, considering you kind of have to know everything like you were just saying?
Yeah, it's you got to be really diverse. It's not just character design, so or just set design. It's everything. So yeah. Yeah, it's almost like you have to have all the skills of a photographer or cinematographer, but also be able to just draw it. You can't just frame it. You can't just light it. You have to be able to. That's true too, because the whole storytelling thing, right? So I totally left that out. It's been a long night. Flow of the page. Just everything. You're right. It's almost like the Olympics of drawing. The triathlon. Triathlon, rather. You know what I mean? Because it's everything. It's everything rolled into one. So yeah, it's cool in that way though, because you're doing a little bit of everything, new things, things you wouldn't really think of. 1 minute you could be underwater, the next minute you're on like an alien planet, right? So. Great. Okay, so tell me, 10 years from now, where do we see Johnny Desjardins? Doing Spawn. Todd McFarlane, have you met Todd McFarlane? No, but I can't wait. I'm really jealous that he gets to do a cover for them. Well, it's already done, and he got to chit-chat with Todd, but that's my dream character. You know what, we'll check back with you in 10 years, okay? And I really hope that you get to do Spawn, because that would be a dream come true, absolutely. I would hope so, too. And hopefully I could sign back at the Cartoon Kingdom, right? So. Mention number two. Okay, thanks a lot, Johnny. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Listo65. Please keep those questions coming. It really helps because we don't really have much to talk about.
We're desperate for questions, is what he's saying.